Hello, and welcome back to the Let Me Add to That podcast. My name is Elizabeth Graswich, Executive Director of Public Affairs and Communications at the Los Angeles County Office of Education. We are the largest regional education agency in the United States. We serve 80 school districts and nearly 2 million children. We are excited to use this platform to take a deep dive into the conversations surrounding our students and schools in LA County. Today we are talking about educator preparation programs and how we can improve our teacher shortage in Los Angeles County and across the nation. Joining us, we have our LACO Chief Human Resource Officer, Dr. Kanika White. Good morning, Dr. White.
Good morning.
And also joining us is Director 1 of Beginning Teacher Programs, Rami Christophi. Welcome, Rami.
Thank you. Good morning.
So glad to have you both with us today. We are talking about hiring and supporting new teachers. It is one of the things that you've both been working on to support our own LACO schools and schools across LA County. Can you share a little bit about the current landscape related to hiring teachers?
The teacher hiring landscape is full of highs and lows. We spent a great deal of time meeting with our district HR administrators in the county, and they are sharing very similar information in that there are unfilled positions that they're having some challenges filling. Now, it's important to note that the challenges look very different in different geographic areas. For example, affluent school districts don't have the same unique challenges to fill positions as districts that serve communities of color. And so it's one of the areas that we all have in common that we really want to focus on fixing, especially because districts that serve communities of color tend to have greater needs, different social dilemmas that many times are addressed within the schools. And so, there have been studies about this. We are losing teachers of color, and there are studies that show that children of color tend to do better when there is familiarity, when there is relationships established, when there is representation. And so there's a strong push to recruit more teachers of color. But in recent surveys, we have found that teachers of color are exiting the profession for various reasons. And so there was a study done by the National Education Survey in 2022 that disproportionately shared data that 62% and 59% of Black and Latino educators, respectively, are leaving or looking toward leaving the profession. And it's for various reasons. Many times in California, we attribute the exits to the cost of living. We know that California is one of the most expensive states to live in, but there are other reasons, such as a lack of consistent coaching and mentoring opportunities, and just support, individualized support for these teachers that may look a lot different for other teachers. Rami, have you seen something different?
Yeah, well, not different, really supporting what you've seen, Dr. White. The issue, I think, is really two sides. The first one is there's a lack of recruitment, or there's a challenge for recruitment. And then on the other end, there's a hemorrhaging of losing teachers. So the efforts are actually much more difficult, because now we have to address two problems, which is trying to fill positions in the beginning, and then trying to stop teachers leaving the profession too soon in their careers.
So I was recently sharing a story or an experience that I personally had. So in the 1990s, there was this saying, sink or swim. So when you're a new teacher, they would say either you're going to sink or you're going to swim. But my experience looked a lot different because I had the support of other experienced tenured teachers at the school site. I had a Ruth Potts. She was my mentor teacher. And so at the time, there was AM and PM kindergarten. I was the PM teacher. I had the joy of being able to observe Mrs. Potts teaching her AM class and learning from her model, and then duplicating it in the afternoon when she would come to observe me and provide me feedback that I could actually implement to better improve my craft. And so if coaching and mentoring was effective back then, so here we are almost 25 years later now for me, and I'm still in the profession. I have not exited. There has not been a break in employment. I'm still serving children in Los Angeles County. Then perhaps coaching and mentoring is a key contributor to the reasons why people stay in the profession and why people feel validated and feel supported in the work that they're doing.
I remember back over a decade ago during the Great Recession, there were conversations about how that may impact the teacher pipeline as people who were going through college maybe made different choices based on what they were seeing. And, fast forward, we've had a lot of other events, most recently the pandemic, that have kind of exacerbated those fears and maybe the situation. Can you speak a little bit to what's been going on in the environment?
So you raise a great point. The pandemic definitely made filling classroom vacancies and various positions, even non-classroom positions, very challenging. So there were already some challenges in recruitment throughout, not just California, I was going to say throughout the state, but nationally, there was already a pipeline problem before the pandemic. So with the pandemic, now we had a situation where there were many people who were afraid of contracting COVID and being in an environment with a number of people within closed walls, while we were experiencing a pandemic that took over 1 million lives globally. And so, a lot of times we talk about just the cost of housing and the fact that many district employees can't afford to live in the city in which they work. But the pandemic showed us that there were other variables. There was the fact that many employees were afraid of potentially taking home a deadly disease to their loved ones who may have been immune compromised or elderly, or maybe their own children or their own personal health and safety. And so similar to the resignations that we experience for some administrative positions, such as superintendency, we saw many retirements from our teacher pool that further complicated our vacancies in public education.
I would like to add too that many of the teachers that come into the profession, usually for them it's a change in career. So they were recent graduates who decided to give education a shot and see if that's perhaps their calling. But then we sit and we analyze and look at, well, what is their pathway? So they've graduated college, they went to 4 years of college. And then after that, they have to earn their credential. So that takes about another 2 years of education. So they're going to be hopefully working full time, but also attending college full time. Their pay scale in their first year without a full credential is quite low. They're at the beginning of the pay scale. They have to pay for programming, juggle personal work, college, education, everything. And then after those 2 years, they officially have their credential, a preliminary, and then they have to spend another 2 years clearing that credential. Many of us can go through education for years and years and years, and maybe, upscale or upgrade to a master's degree, or even a PhD or an EDD. Yet for many educators, not only do they have to work very hard to earn their credentials, but at the end, the pay scale just does not really match the amount of education and training that they had to take. So when we talk about recruitment and the landscape, it's a little difficult for us to go to and recruit people and say, hey, come and join the education workforce. And yet you're going to be starting, around 40 to 50,000 a year. You're going to be working full time, going to school full time, paying for that education that you're doing. And then at the end, you still have to do another 2 years when you're done to clear your credential. So it's a little difficult, and it's not really a big selling point. I think the passion that they discover within the education field the working with students and families and the impact that they have, really a legacy that they keep. Dr. White, you mentioned Ms. Potts years and years later. That's a big impact on you as an educator, and I imagine the impact she had on the kids. Really, that becomes the driving force that we have to sell education now. So sometimes, programs, being creative, giving them an opportunity maybe to sub for a while to see what it's like, these things can help, at least help with the recruitment part of this landscape.
Rami, I'm so glad you shared that trajectory. I don't know that everyone understands what is involved in becoming a teacher, and it is extensive. And I know that there's an awful lot of people that have, thought of teaching as maybe a second career or later in life, but, kind of given all of that, it becomes challenging. And I know that's why we're doing a lot of things and having a lot of conversations about, how can we, share the joy of it and help remove barriers. And you're right. I mean, I've talked to so many people who talk about all the people they run into in the grocery store and the years of generations of people that they've touched and how incredibly rewarding that is. One of the things that LACO really believes strongly in is early education. And we were pretty excited about the new requirement that for all children turning 5 before April 3rd, 2024, there would now be students enrolling, but that also requires more teachers. So can you speak a little bit to how transitional kindergarten requirements have impacted the teacher shortage and our thinking around that?
Sure. Thank you for that. It was great news when the governor signed the emergency orders really to allow for transitional kindergarten for all. It was great news because I think a lot of families can use the support. They were getting children educated at a younger age. They're in the classrooms. The trajectory for them becomes a lot more positive. Really, it becomes a great opportunity for many, many students and families. The governor's plan, though, kind of took the education world by surprise because it did create these vacancies. Some studies say about 8,000 vacancies statewide. Because if we imagine the current elementary schools, which are currently K through 5, some have TK, now all of them are opening transitional kindergarten classrooms. So if we imagine 1/6 or 1/5 additional population coming in, 1/5 or 1/6 additional teachers now that are needed. So while it's a great opportunity for the students and the families, it did exacerbate the teacher need because we already had a dire need before, and then now we have an even greater need because we have 8,000 additional vacancies throughout the state. As far as the opportunity for transitional kindergarten, it is staggered. So this year, like you mentioned, Liz, if they're turning 4 up through April 3rd, I believe is the date, then the families have an option to put their children in transitional kindergarten. And then the full implementation is going to be by the 25-26 school year. So basically, any child that is turning 4 by September 1 in that year, the 25-26 school year, then they will be able to go to transitional kindergarten and attend transitional kindergarten, which is great. So we're adding an additional year of education for the students, giving them an opportunity to achieve and really enter kindergarten at a more prepared level and ready to achieve and do well in school moving forward.
One of the things that you do a lot of at LACO is supporting beginning teachers. You just talked again about the teacher trajectory. And I remember when I first entered the education field coming from journalism, I didn't understand how much was involved in managing a classroom and teaching and making sure learning's taking place and then that their social emotional health is okay. And that's a lot. There's, 20, 30 plus individual people that all have individual needs. And so can you share a little bit about our beginning teacher program or our teacher preparatory programs, what they are and how they support these beginning teachers?
So our beginning teacher programs offers a non-traditional way for teachers to earn their credential. In many ways, it's very similar to the offerings of the university, but it's operated by LACO. So candidates have an option of identifying which programs best meets their need. Sometimes these are financial decisions. Sometimes it's based on time and availability. But we've been very excited to build a very robust beginning teacher program at LACO, and Rami has done a fantastic job bringing the right people into the fold on the team to ensure that we're providing the best services for teachers in Los Angeles County to assist them in meeting their credentialing needs. So Rami, you mind sharing a little bit more about the work that we've been doing in beginning teacher programs?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. White. And again, it's through your vision of leadership. So thank you so much for that. Beginning teacher programs in LACO is one of the largest county-operated teacher preparation programs. And like Dr. White said, it often operates like really a miniature university, trying to just prepare teachers for the classroom and getting them into the classroom. We have two main programs, and that's the district intern program. And that's where it's really an excellent opportunity to have teachers, or give them an opportunity to give the candidates an ability to work during the day and then attend classes in the afternoon and evenings. So they're able to earn a living, earn a paycheck, which is great. But then also they attend classes to fully prepare to being a teacher and get their preliminary credential in the afternoons. That's about a 2-year program. Our current enrollment right now, we have 144 candidates. So I think of that number as like 144 new teachers in 2 years that are going to be filling classrooms. And that's great. Or they're already in classrooms.
Yeah.
And then the second program that we have is the induction program. The induction program really is basically completing their teaching career, almost like an apprenticeship. If we think of apprenticeship when it comes to the vocational trade, these teachers are working with a mentor teacher to continue their learning experience. They are discovering best practices in the classroom, and that takes an additional 2 years. And after they're done with that program, they earn their clear credential. Dr. White mentioned mentoring and mentorship. This is where the induction program really takes on that challenge of providing quality mentors that are matched to the students, to the teachers, based on their credential, based on their student population, based on the unique needs of their school site, to try to help them really survive those additional 2 years and thrive, because we want our teachers to continue. There is an additional item that we started this last year, and again with the vision of Dr. White, and I really want to thank her for that, really bringing to us a need. And that was, studies show that about 40% of all new teachers quit the profession within 5 years. So I like to work with numbers. I'm a little bit of a math geek, a math person. So I said, okay, so if the first 2 years they're earning their preliminary credential, then 2 years they're earning their clear credential, that 5th year, there's no support. That mentorship goes away unless the school is really, aware of the situation and just trying to make a mentorship a continuous type of support. So we said, well, let's try to think about a way to support our teachers beyond those 4 years and into the 5th year. And maybe that can curtail some of that hemorrhaging that we were talking about earlier about teachers leaving the profession, at least with our programming. So we started a campaign to at least just follow up with our teachers, just call them just to see where they're at. How are they doing? What supports can we even share back to their administrator to say, hey, we have a new teacher here and they're asking for additional supports in this area. Can you help, or can we work with you to try to make this happen? So it's new. We don't have data, of course, because it's our first year trying to implement some of these things. But we take to heart really looking at the needs of our teachers and our candidates and looking at the struggles that they, have to navigate. And then trying to figure out, well, how do we at least try to make that pathway as smooth as possible? I mean, even our tuition is lower than many other county offices. Right now, the district intern program is $5,000 a year, which is lower than the universities, lower than a lot of our sister counties, which is, and I'm not saying, we're competing, there's no competition. Any program is great. Anybody, please get into a program now and just be a teacher. But I mean to say it because we understand that this is a unique challenge for our teachers. We want to do everything we can to try to lower the anxiety, lower the cost of becoming a teacher for them.
Well, and, ultimately this comes down to students, right? That we're helping ensure that we have teachers who are well supported, who have the information and resources and knowledge they need so they can be the best for our kids.
That's right.
So, it doesn't just stop, though, at, helping support them with their credentials and in their professional development. You're also doing work to connect our newly trained educators with teaching jobs. How are you doing that?
This was just really being strategic and understanding what our objectives are, the work that we wanted to do, not just for LACO schools, but really for all of the districts that we serve, and how we wanted to play a leadership role in aligning the right partners to support their work. So I would say that one of the first things that we did was really talked about how can we have not just a county-wide impact, but a global impact on this problem of teacher shortage. And we created a partnership with Tulare County Office to ensure that we can have what became an international job fair where thousands of people were able to participate and consider a teaching job in Los Angeles County. So we began there, really. Rami was so gracious and saw the vision. And it started from a conversation like, how might we have a larger impact throughout the county, state, and even on a national level? And Rami said, yes, I think I can do that. And I said, we need a partner. This isn't something that we should do alone. And we brought in Tulare, and that partnership has just continually thrived and has grown. And we're very excited that we're going on our third or fourth event in collaboration with them, and we're drawing people to Los Angeles County through this work.
That's right, Dr. White. And the relationship with Tulare is really, it's a great relationship that we have with a sister county office of education, understanding also similar needs that we have. But Dr. White came and said, why aren't we trying to bridge, teachers to get them into the classroom, and why don't we have a job fair? And we looked at our options, and Tulare had they have what they call the California Center on Teaching Careers, and they call it Center for short. And we contacted them, and at the time, the first year that we did this was in 2022, and COVID had not gone away. We were in waves of remote and then back in person. And at the time we said, okay, well, how are we going to do this where we're trying to have a job fair with a lot of people, but we can't have them actually in one physical place because of COVID restrictions. So we decided to do it virtually. And when we did that virtual event, we had over 400 participants log on. We had about 30 districts that participated. And it was a great event. But it also made us realize that we were having folks that were logging on, not just within California, but we also had them logging on throughout the entire nation. And even more, folks were logging on from different parts of the world. Wow. So we said, okay, Dr. White was like, okay, Rami, let's make this international. So we started being a little bit more strategic. We worked with the center again. They spearheaded the event, but we supported them. How? By talking to our local districts and saying, do you have a program that sponsors work visas for teachers? Because you have to, I mean, I don't know the nuances and the, the parts too well about immigration and immigration law, but if a district already has a system in place to support that, and there's a qualified professional that can fill in that gap, then why not connect them together and help them put in a qualified teacher into that classroom? So it became, we held the first global event and we had folks logging on from all over the world, from all, the 6 major continents that were populated. And, they were able to fill some of those positions as well. So we continue to have the relationship. We're currently having an additional upcoming job fair. We are working with our partners. We're working with even strategic sponsorship, where we're going to really invite those that can provide support, other teacher preparation programs. So not just ours. Again, like I said, any program is a great program. If they want to join ours, great. If they want to join Cal State LA in their traditional program, that's great too. We're trying to get these partners in and be strategic and really have a job fair that is trying to fill all positions, because the shortage too, we realize, is not just in teaching, but it's also paraprofessionals. It's in office staff. It's in administrators. Dr. White mentioned superintendents retiring, but you also have principals that have retired, and assistant principals and counselors and nurses, all these positions that are available. So we're trying to make it an opportunity, or more like a one-stop shop, where anybody that is seeking a job in a district or in a school, they can come to the job fair and hopefully find that.
What's cool about this is one of the things that Dr. Eduardo talks a lot about is the power of one, that it doesn't need to just be one agency solving problems, but, we could come together on behalf of students. And not only are you all doing that here within LA County, you're doing it across the state and globally. So kudos to you all, because I just think it's exciting. And then secondly, the word innovation comes to mind as you speak about your programs and the different things that you're doing. You've identified a problem that we have in education, and you're coming up with innovative ideas to solve it. So what are some of the other things that you're doing that are innovative that you can share with our community?
I think back on when we were having challenges recruiting substitute teachers. And I think it's quite innovative that we utilize technology and social media platforms to get the word out and to recruit in positions where we were having some challenges. Let's go to where potential substitute teachers might be. Social media platforms. Let's utilize Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever is out there to get the word out. And we created a video to market.
You did a great job on that video, Dr. White.
Thank you. That was my acting, the start of my acting career, if there should ever be one. But we were really excited because if we learned nothing from the pandemic, we should have learned how to effectively utilize technology and rethink the way in which we approach the work. And so we were very effective at doing that. And that was innovative. It was something that had not been done. And just creating graphics, partnering with the Personnel Commission to make sure that if we bring in teachers to support the needs of our students, now do we have the paraprofessionals or the classified staff that are going to come in and provide the support in the roles that may not be teaching roles, but very much a part of the support that we provide to the students in the county. So I believe that that is a part of the innovation, in addition to the strategic partnerships that we've created.
Absolutely, Dr. Wright. And I think innovation too helps to solve a lot of the logistical problems that we face. Los Angeles County alone is over 4,000 square miles, and that's just Los Angeles County.
Huge.
So how do we connect folks, in Lancaster and Palmdale, down to Long Beach, to Pomona, So thinking innovatively by allowing the job fair, for example, to be a hybrid event. Not only will it allow folks who live far away to participate and meet the districts, meet the schools that are hiring, but it also helps with bridging even some of our counties, sister counties near us, to jobs that are available all over Southern California. Meaning that this hybrid event is going to be specifically for the 8 Southern California counties, the major ones here, but also it allows for us to pivot just in case, say the pandemic does make a resurgence or there's an issue with transportation, or it is pouring rain like we are expecting this weekend or something like that. But it allows us to pivot, and it gives folks an opportunity or the flexibility to have choice, to have ability to still participate and meet at these events. So innovation for us has been great. Usually results from us facing a problem and trying to solve a problem. And again, trying to make it easier for the teachers, whether it's their pathway or whether it's at the job fair.
The virtual hiring events just make complete sense. It makes you almost wonder why we didn't think of it pre-pandemic, right? Can you share just a little bit more about our virtual job fair and how people can find more information about it and what it actually is?
Well, people can certainly find more information about it on our website and obviously our social media platforms. But really, the virtual job fair, which has become a hybrid job fair, is really just given us an opportunity to pivot and shift to meet the needs of participants and meet people where they are. So if you're still concerned about communicable diseases, then fine, log in virtually. If you're fine and you would like to have an on-the-spot interview, then show up in person. And so really, it was just an opportunity for us to be creative and meet people wherever they might be in terms of their comfort with being out and sharing public spaces.
That's right, Dr. Wright. And also, it expands our pool of candidates. You know, they can be logging on from Florida, Massachusetts, Texas, wherever they are, and really connect with districts that are hiring. It also supports families that are mobile, families, for example, that are spouses of our armed forces or veterans that are moving from base to base, and they're relocating to California, to somebody making a lifelong decision to move to California, and they're looking for a teaching job. So anybody all over the country can log on virtually and still have that connection and opportunity also to apply for jobs that are available.
Yeah, as we close, we want to look towards the future. At this point in time, we still see shortages on the horizon. In your minds, what role do partnerships and innovations play in trying to reduce the teacher shortage and, get us to a place where it's a little bit more even, that we're not having as many challenges?
Well, addressing teacher shortage in the long run is really going to be a multifaceted approach. It's not going to be something that can be solved by any one person or any one agency. It's going to require innovation, partnership, a collaborative effort. It's going to take really examining what the needs are, how the needs differ, because they're not the same everywhere or in every district. They're different, and being okay with addressing diverse needs. But it's going to take strategic planning. It's going to take a campaign to inform the public about what's really going on, so that transparency and trust is going to need to be there and established. And it's going to take legislation that supports the work that we are doing. We were all very excited in public education about recent trailer bill that allowed more flexibility for teachers in retirement or teachers who have retired to come out of retirement to support some of the shortages that we are facing and not be penalized by any loss of benefits in their retirement programs. And so it's going to take more support from legislators as well, in addition to the strategic partnerships that we're establishing on a local level.
Just to add to that, the impact that the work has really on the students and the communities that we serve. When Dr. White speaks about looking at needs and assessing needs and strategic partnerships, all these have an effect on the classroom and the students. And the more work that is really invested in an opportunity to provide quality educators, quality staff and personnel in schools, that leaves a legacy of lifelong learners, students that want to go on and achieve and do wonderful things. So for us here at Los Angeles County Office of Ed, it's a great opportunity to really serve and be fulfilled and do work that is certainly hard and takes many, many hours, but it's very, very fulfilling knowing that our impact is hopefully felt throughout the entire county.
And if I can make one final comment, so often you see coverage of public education, and it seems to be very adult-centered. And navigating political terrain is a part of the work that we have to do. But really, when we get good collectively at responding to the needs of students, then all of our decisions, all of our conversations will be student-centered and student-focused. And so ideally, that's what I hope to see for all of public education.
That's a beautiful vision. And again, it all goes back to students. And the joy of teaching is really the joy in making a difference in the lives of these students. I want to thank Dr. White and Rami for joining us today. I appreciate your insights and expertise and all the work that you're doing on behalf of the almost 2 million students in LA County. And for those of our listeners who want to learn more about our teacher prep programs, we want to encourage you to visit our website, lacoe.edu, laco.edu. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please follow the Los Angeles County Office of Education on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Los Angeles COE. That's Los Angeles COE. Or you can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn at Los Angeles County Office of Education.